Content creation, outsourcing B2B blogs. B2B buyers read your blog before they read your contract. If you sell B2B, your prospects are doing research long before they ever reply to an SDR or ask for pricing. A blog isn't just marketing content, it's often the first place buyers validate whether you understand their world and whether your solution is credible. When blogging is consistent and aligned to your market, it becomes a quiet but persistent pipeline driver. The impact is measurable. Companies that blog generate about 67% more leads and see roughly 55% more website visitors than companies that don't. That gap is big enough to change your inbound volume, your retargeting audiences, and even how effective outbound feels. If your team is underinvesting in blogging, you're effectively choosing a smaller top of funnel. It's also how buyers self-educate. About 71% of B2B buyers consume blog content during the buying journey, and many review 3 to 5 posts before contacting sales. That means your blog is already part of the sales process, whether you designed it that way or not. The goal of outsourcing is to scale that influence without sacrificing relevance or depth. Why outsourcing can amplify SEO and sales, not replace strategy. B2B teams don't outsource blogs because they don't care about quality. They outsource because the channel demands consistency. And consistency is hard when content competes with launches, events, enablement, and pipeline fire drills. Modern buyers prefer education over promotion, with about 89% of B2B decision-makers saying they'd rather learn from articles than ads. If your content doesn't do real teaching, it won't be used by sales or trusted by serious buyers. Blogs also compound in a way most channels don't. When content marketing is done well, 58% of B2B marketers say it directly increases sales or revenue, which is the right lens for outsourcing. Revenue contribution, not just words shipped. In practice, the best outsourced blogging programs create a library of objection handling and evaluation content that supports inbound, outbound, and expansion. This is where we see teams go wrong. They treat outsourcing as hand off everything and hope SEO works. The smarter model is to keep strategy, ICP definition, positioning, and sales insights in-house, and outsource the production engine, research, drafting, editing, and on-page optimization. When you do it that way, your partner executes inside a clear revenue framework instead of guessing what your buyers care about. Decide what stays internal versus what your partner owns. Outsourcing works best when you're explicit about ownership. Keep internal control of ICPs, messaging, proof points, and funnel priorities, because those are tied to your win-loss reality and your differentiation. Then outsource the repeatable work: topic research, outlines, first drafts, SEO formatting, internal linking recommendations, and repurposing suggestions. The time savings are real. The average blog post takes about 4 hours, 10 minutes to write, and that's before stakeholder reviews, SME input, and revisions. A practical way to build the business case is to log the hours your marketers and SMEs spend across 3 posts, multiply by fully loaded rates, and compare that to a specialized partner's per-article pricing. Most teams discover they're paying more internally than they assumed, just in fragmented time. You'll also be in good company. About 50% of B2B marketing teams outsource at least one content activity, and 84% of outsourcers rely on partners specifically for content creation. The difference between outsourcing that works and outsourcing that produces fluff is whether you hand your partner a real playbook, positioning, segment priorities, and a topic list pulled from actual sales conversations. Build a workflow that protects SME time and content quality. The fastest way to kill outsourced blogging is to make SMEs type. Instead, make SMEs talk. Record 20 to 30-minute interviews and give the audio, notes, and internal docs to your writers. That approach preserves nuance, keeps technical accuracy high, and prevents the generic Google rewrite problem that turns off experienced buyers. Next, standardize briefing. A strong brief should define the target persona, funnel stage, the sales objection it addresses, the desired CTA, and the internal sources your writer should use: call snippets, decks, help docs, or product notes. If you want your content to support an outbound sales agency motion, like SDR follow-ups or nurture sequences, every brief should include a sales use case, so the post is immediately usable in outreach. Finally, governance has to be simple and predictable. Define reviewers, turnaround times, and what done means: voice, claims, citations, formatting, and SEO basics. A lightweight operating system prevents drafts from ping-ponging between teams and keeps your partner productive instead of waiting on approvals. If your outsourced blogs can't be used in real sales conversations, you don't have a content program. You have a publishing habit. Choose a partner who can write for your ACV and your sales motion. Selecting the right provider is less about who writes well and more about who understands how B2B revenue works. Your partner should ask about your ICP, your competitive landscape, deal cycle length, and the objections that stall deals. If they only talk about keywords and word count, you'll likely get content that ranks, maybe, but doesn't convert. Avoid the common trap of choosing the cheapest generalist writers. Low-cost generalists often miss technical nuance, mishandle proof points, and produce shallow posts that AEs and buyers ignore. A better approach is a paid pilot. Give 2 or 3 partners the same brief, require an SME interview, and have sales leadership answer one question: would your cold email agency or SDR agency actually send this to a prospect without cringing? When you evaluate drafts, look for sales usability. Strong outsourced blogs are structured for follow-ups and objection handling, so they can be dropped into cadences by an outsourced sales team, a sales development agency, or your internal SDRs. Done right, each post becomes a flexible asset: a link in a sequence, a talk track on a call, and a resource your champion can forward internally. Fix the mistakes that create traffic but not qualified pipeline. The biggest failure mode is outsourcing without a documented buyer strategy. If your partner doesn't have clarity on personas, stages, differentiation, and the problems you solve, you'll get generic posts that attract unqualified readers and confuse the prospects you actually want. The fix is simple. Publish a short internal playbook: positioning, priority segments, approved claims, tone, and examples, and review early drafts together until alignment is locked in. Another common issue is treating blogs as an SEO-only project disconnected from sales. That approach often creates content that looks good in a rank tracker but doesn't help reps overcome real objections. If nearly 48% of marketers struggle with lead quality, the answer isn't more top of funnel. It's more targeted, problem-focused content that filters out poor fits and arms sales with specifics. The third mistake is having no governance. Without defined reviewers and SLAs, drafts get stuck, messaging drifts, and publishing slows down until the program dies. Put a basic cadence in place: a monthly sales content sync, a single owner for final approvals, and a clear standard for what your partner must deliver each time: SEO basics, source links, and a short distribution plan. Measure performance the way revenue teams measure reality. If you measure your content partner on page views alone, you'll get content optimized for clicks instead of conversion. We recommend measuring on assisted pipeline, demo requests influenced, and sales usage, because those metrics force specificity. When writers know they're being graded on whether the post helps win deals, they naturally write clearer, More buyer-relevant content. Operationally, build a feedback loop with sales. Mine call recordings, gong chorus clips, and SDR questions to create topics straight from the field. Then watch which posts get used in follow-ups and which URLs show up in deals. This is also where pairing blogging with outbound muscle pays off. When a cold calling agency or outbound sales agency can send a relevant article right after a call, engagement and reply quality typically improve because the prospect gets value instead of a pitch. Design for repurposing on day one. Every blog should produce derivative assets, email snippets, LinkedIn angles, and short talk tracks so your team can deploy it immediately in outreach. This turns one article into multiple touches across channels without extra lift, which is especially useful for organizations running B2B sales outsourcing or scaling B2B cold calling services alongside inbound. Next steps. Build the 3 to 6 month outsourced blogging program that compounds. Outsourcing rarely works from 1 or 2 posts. B2B blogging compounds, so you need a real commitment window, typically 3 to 6 months, with a consistent cadence and a distribution plan. Leading indicators like time on page, sales shares, Search Console impressions, and assisted opportunities will show progress before rankings fully catch up. Start by auditing your blog against your sales process. List your top objections and buying questions. Map what you already have and define the first 10 to 20 topics based on gaps. Then, standardize your briefing template and governance so your partner can execute without constant rework. Once the engine is running, you can expand into higher intent formats like competitor comparisons, ROI explainers, and case study style narratives. At SalesHive, we see the best results when content and outbound aren't separate worlds. If you're already investing in sales outsourcing, whether that's cold calling services, an SDR agency, or a broader B2B sales agency, your outsourced blogs should be built as sales assets from day one. That's how your blog stops being marketing output and becomes a predictable, scalable pipeline lever.